Okay, so let's start. Please take your places. Feel comfortable, because we're gonna discuss something totally different from the previous speaker. No lakes, no data, but some design and lots of management. My topic today is from hands-on work to design management. What it actually means. How much will you suffer if you choose this path? And I hope we're gonna have fun today. Yeah, like this meme suggests. So switching from being a hands-on designer to being a manager is like a miracle. There is something in between and no one knows exactly what it is. It's like magic, I suppose. But let's uncover this topic, and today I would like to share 5 lessons that I learned myself on my own experience while failing a lot, suffering and struggling with that. So probably you won't have to repeat that yourself if you choose this path to switch from hands-on work to management, whatever management, including design management. So let's start. The first one, I call it Figma nostalgia and management. What does it actually mean? And I'll start from the end, from the summary. That's a paradox probably for some of you, but management is not the natural stage of a designer. It's something additional. So how we might imagine it? Like this. First you are a designer, then you are a senior designer, then lead, and then design manager. How it happens in reality? Probably like this. So maybe you are an active member of the community, you start mentoring juniors, you are doing here and there, presenting, evangelizing design in your company, and then your boss comes to you at some point and says, oh, okay, you're gonna be a manager. You're such a proactive person. It's like an unexpected strike. But the truth is that it's extremely hard to combine both things and maintain them at the same level. That's the hardest thing. When you become a manager, or when you are switching from primarily hands-on work to combination of both, you will inevitably lose part of your hands-on practical skills. Like here, user experience, interaction, documentation, all this kind of stuff, it will be gone. And soon you will notice that you will never be better than your team members, than those seniors who you are managing actually. And yeah, probably your skill set will be somewhere on the middle level and remain like that forever. I guess the peak development of your hands-on experience before switching to management is somewhere here on the senior or lead level. Then in the majority of companies there are 2 paths available. Either you start specializing in your practical work and you do more like deep, specialized, profound, advanced stuff practically, or you switch to management. And usually it's great when there is such a choice in the company. The trouble is when you are obliged to become a manager if you want to grow, just because one path is much longer, this managerial, and the practical one ends at the level of, let's say, principal designer, and there is nothing behind it, like a void. Yeah. So just another meme to demonstrate what I mean, that combining both things and again maintaining them at the equal high level, it's extremely hard. Another thing is that design management, it sounds a bit abstract, and there is a lot of, it's quite vague and hard to interpret correctly. Design management, what are you managing actually? Designs or designers? And the truth is that these are completely different things. If you are managing designs, you should not necessarily be a manager by your job title. You're planning things, prioritizing, communicating it to the cross-functional team, but not necessarily managing other people. When you are managing designers, you might not be doing the practical work at all, but at the same time, you're responsible for those people who do the practical work. That's the trick. And again, if we go back to this diagram, as your design skills, like I mentioned a minute ago, they go down, managerial skills should grow. Otherwise, you won't be an efficient manager. And here is this choice zone, when you have to define whether management is something that you want to do, or probably it's not for you. And maybe the largest misconception about design management is that you are a good manager when you are the best designer on the team. Probably it can be true if you are a lead designer. You kind of already somehow managing stuff, managing people, doing your practical work, but when you go deeper and further into management, of course you will lose some skills. So it's not bad for designers to learn management on the fly. That's typical because we were trained as designers at the beginning of our career. It's not bad to lose some of the hard skills over time. Not all of them, of course, but some of them. But what's really a tragedy of our profession is when, because of those misconceptions about design management, you start competing with your team members about who does your practical work better around hands-on excellence instead of perfecting your managerial skills, which is a huge, completely different topic. At some point, you have not necessarily changed the tool set, but at least move towards that one on the left. Oh, on the right. Yeah, it's on the left from me, sorry. And replace design thinking stages with something like employee life cycle. So, when you just start managing stuff, you're a newbie manager, there is this hard choice: remain a cool designer or be a good manager. Why not both, but in this fashion? Just accept that you will never be this cool designer anymore, but what you can do is become a great manager. As Simon Sinek said, leaders must transition from being responsible for the job to being responsible for the people responsible for doing the job. And we go to the next topic. You won't be nice to everyone. So what is meant here? It's okay to be nice to 3-5 stakeholders. And usually when you are a designer, when you do the practical work, you can be nice to those 3-5 people with whom you communicate regularly, collaborate regularly, and it's fine. But things are more challenging when you have 30 stakeholders, 40 stakeholders, of course of different importance, but still, that's just a lot of people. Here is the real screenshot of a table that I created specifically when I joined Bolt around 7 months ago, just to understand the environment with whom I'll be working. And I split those stakeholders into 3 tiers, depending how closely I should collaborate with them. I wouldn't say that I'm using this table regularly, not checking it every day, of course, but it helped me a lot at the very beginning, just to understand, okay, what surrounds me? Who are those people? Oh, I've totally forgot about this area or about that area. Because we all are humans, we have limited resources, limited amount of attention and energy that we can give to others at work. And usually it's not always pleasant. It should be like the balance between the necessity, rationalism, and what you actually like about your job. So here is the overlap between, let's say, stakeholders with whom you work smoothly already, but not all of them might be important for doing the job. Although they can be nice people and you can have common interests even apart from work. At the same time, there are people with whom you should work in order to deliver high quality and empower and enable something great in your team. And they don't overlap all the time. So it's a tough choice how to spread your attention, where to invest it, because just perceive attention as capital, as money. You invest your attention into something. But the paradox is, and I haven't been told about that at the very beginning of my managerial career, that management is an extremely controversial and strange thing, and many things just don't match. It's not perfect. We are living in the real world. Sometimes people who deserve reward are not those who demand reward from you. Or let's say people who deserve recognition are not necessarily those who demand it in a proactive manner. Or let's say highest paid specialists are not necessarily top performing specialists. Of course, there should be correlation here, but yeah, again, real world, it's different. Or, let's say, people who yell about their problems are not necessarily those who need urgent help. Or generally likable team members, nice people, but you know, nice guy is not a profession. It's not the same as people good for certain tasks, for a certain type of job. And finally, processes which are convenient for designers, for the design team, are not necessarily convenient for the whole company. So you have to choose, like, comfort for designers or Microsoft stack for the whole company, just because this is how engineers operate, and there is majority of them, just as an example. So yeah, manager's life is tough. You will be torn apart by so many different areas, and it's just impossible to combine it with hands-on design, at least at that scale as you have it during being a designer. So what can we do with it? There is quite a popular piece of advice for designers. Just grow thicker skin, so that you are not very sensitive to getting feedback, you are not offended by people just being honest with you, trying to solve a business problem together with you. What can be the relevant piece of advice for managers? The same. Just grow thicker skin, even thicker. And we go to the third topic, paradox of great team members. So, have you seen this picture before? Raise your hands if you've seen it. Okay, so this artwork is a tricky thing because it depicts a fisherman. And depending on how you mirror it in the middle and see the reflection, this guy can be either very positive, good, as if he is praying to God, or evil. And I would say that the same with all of us, all people. They are like this fisherman. We combine different traits of character. Something positive, something negative. It's not negative per se. It might be negative in the particular context. For example, in your company, in your team, within like the business processes that you have. And those traits of character, they go in batches. For example, if you like something about the person, this person will inevitably have something else. Goes in batch. Probably you might have seen at supermarkets, I don't know, a bottle of wine, and like there is something attached to it with this sticky tape, saying like you can buy both and it's cheaper. The same with people. If there is some trait of character that is extremely positive and great, just be ready that there will be something else, just the counterpart of that trait of character. Let's get to practice, two examples, because now I feel that I'm sounding a bit abstract. So fast learners. Everyone wants to hire people who learn fast, who can obtain new skills, who are proactive. Yeah, they adapt to changing environment, they obtain new skills quickly, but at the same time, what goes together with that? They might grow faster than your team and just derail all your career growth processes. They can demand more exotic tasks over time, just because, oh, that's a nice technique, I want to conduct this kind of workshops, regardless of whether you need it or not for the business, because they want to learn more and more every time. So you see, it's not 100% perfect. And such a team member might cause problems as well, like everyone else. Or let's say rock stars, those people who present at conferences, who, I don't know, conduct webinars, have podcasts. Yeah, that's nice, perfect for the brand of your team. Those people will promote your company, which is amazing, but at the same time, they may be very choosy about projects. They may lose their interest quite quickly and build their own mini kingdom, especially if they go to a managerial or leading role. They can just gather some tiny team who they like or who likes them, and you'll have a problem. Or missionaries, people who are led by a mission, by grand vision. Amazing, perfect thing, great to have it in your team or in your company. They are devoted to achieving this goal. They will have sleepless nights working on important stuff, but at the same time, What goes together with that? They can sacrifice everything, including normal human relations with other people, with peers, and they can burn out very quickly and abandon all the ideas. And at some point, you won't even recognize this person, like, oh, he or she was so cheerful and optimistic all the time. What has happened? Proactive people. Everyone likes proactive people, just because you don't need to micromanage them. They initiate useful tasks, they don't need control. Positive thing, amazing. At the same time, they might start something else, improving something that goes against the strategic priorities of your team or of your company. And that's kind of bad. So yeah, at the very beginning of your managerial career, you might think, oh yes, I have a team of rock stars, amazing, we're gonna change the world. But then in a few weeks, oh no, team of rock stars. Because we are all humans, we are people, we are not perfect. If we spend our time and effort on something, on area A, we will inevitably lose something in the area B. Just natural thing. We cannot focus on everything in our life. We cannot change human nature. And by the way, should we? Maybe not. But we can work with it. We can live with it. It's okay. For example, extra tolerance. Just be more forgiving and patient towards people, or just analyze pros and cons of this particular person on your team. If this person is more harmful than useful, maybe it's just time for them to quit and for you to make a decision not to hire this type of personalities anymore, just because they don't fit your company, your vision. It's normal. Our world is quite diverse. We are all adults. We can choose what fits us best. Also, you can find a suitable niche for a particular person. Like you see where their talents are applied the best. Yeah, let them do this kind of work. And besides, defining rules of the game and reach this agreement among all the team members how you do things, or more bureaucratically speaking, build processes. And as a small summary of this third point of my presentation, build the star team, not the team of stars. And yeah, I guess you recognize those guys from the movies. Now, the next point, the fourth one. What is company culture? Raise your hands if you are skeptical towards company culture, corporate values. Raise your hands. Only one person? The rest of you just like corporate culture, values, and everything? Okay. Let's assume that you are not very honest today, and you hate it. But yeah, in reality, I heard a lot of complaints about corporate culture and everything. But you know what? Company culture, it's okay. It's like gravity. Gravity exists anyway, regardless of whether you want it to exist or not. If I just stop holding this thing, it will fall down. Yeah, gravity just exists. The same with user experience. Regardless of whether you designed that flow or you didn't design that flow, there will be user experience. Maybe positive, maybe bad, whatever, but it will exist. The same with company culture. It doesn't depend on whether it's written somewhere. It just exists. But the way how we practice this thing, that sucks. In order to understand company culture or team culture a bit better, let's get more practical. Of course, it's oversimplification, but it helps. You can narrow it down to behavior. Perceived team culture or company culture through behavior. It depends on what you observe, not what people say. For example, if you see that a certain situation is being repeated and there is no punishment for that, it's a norm, it's normal for this particular company, it's part of the culture. You can define the real culture of a team or company but by just answering two simple questions. The first one, who is promoted and praised and what for? And who is ripped of privileges and fired and what for? Just analyze those cases. Recall who has been promoted recently. What kind of person he or she is? What have they done in order to be promoted? That will give you some clues to understanding the culture. Again, even simpler, whom the system pushes up and whom the system pushes down. That's the real culture. Yeah. Cultures are different. There are no good or bad cultures per se. Yeah, of course, there might be some toxic cultures, but there are harsh cultures, and there is nothing really bad about them, because it can match someone's ambition. It can be useful for someone, maybe not for everyone, maybe not for you. And yeah, there might be a company where inaction and not being proactive is valued, just because it's about stability. Do you know this company? That's an American bank, and it's an extremely popular example. Maybe you've already read about it in the articles, or I don't know, you saw it in the news. In 2011, 2016, this American bank was involved into a huge scandal. And why I'm talking about it, just because I want to illustrate what the culture means and how people's behavior can be shaped by different stimuli, positive or negative, like what is encouraged in the company. So what happened here? This bank opened around 2 million fake accounts for their clients without them even knowing about those accounts, without their consent. Why? Because the staff was incentivized by very strict KPIs to open as many accounts as possible. And sometimes bank employees even use their own contact information and passport data of other people in order to create those fake accounts and issue credit cards in order to fit that KPI of opening as many accounts as possible. So as you can see, if there is a KPI, if it's measured, if it's demanded from people, people will be doing this. And here we come to the paradox of company culture or team culture, that sometimes what you hear is not exactly what you see, and what is declared is not necessarily what really exists. Of course, in the ideal world, we want this, the thing here on the right, when the written list of values reflects the real culture. But sometimes it happens like that, when they are totally different. And you can find yourself in a company which exists only on paper, like here, when you accidentally join the company of workaholics, achievers, but you expect comfort because it's important for you as a personality or on a certain stage of your life. So company culture is always all right. It exists anyway. The real problem is when words don't match the reality. And sometimes we try too hard to convince good candidates to join our company, and sometimes we mask the truth about who we are, trying to discover what a person wants to achieve, what they're searching for, and trying to mimic that. Oh, okay, yeah, we have it. Yeah, that's exactly about us. Join our company. And we go to the fifth point, the paradox. Don't listen to people. Wait, what? Manager shouldn't listen to people? Let me explain. Have you read this article? And do you know this guy? Raise your hands if yes. Yeah, Jacob Nielsen, one of probably most famous experts in the area of UX and usability. And some time ago, to be precise in 2001, he wrote this article, First Rule of Usability, Don't Listen to Users. And the same can be applied to management. Yeah, of course, you should interview your team members, have one-on-ones with them, and communicate, ask questions, actually listen, but not literally listen and just write down everything they are saying and then immediately apply it. Yeah, like here. Because team members, like users, they do not necessarily know what they need, what is better for them. Of course, their opinion should be taken into account. That's okay, but this is not the only opinion that exists and should be taken into account. So there are different levels of behavior, of managerial behavior. Yeah, of course, you can act only if something bad happens, and then you get involved. Or you can just do whatever team members ask you about. Or, even better, you can find repeating problems, solve them all at once for everyone. And even better is to empower people, and not focus on the problems or solutions, but make them stronger so that they don't need that much of your support. Usually, what do designers ask for? They ask about, I don't know, learning fun skills like 3D animation or something. It's not necessarily business critical, but they just want to grow in this direction. What else? Team building, especially more creative one that needs dedicated budget and organization. And also templates, tools, something that can make their life easier. But what managers try to achieve? It's not exactly the same. Managers try to close skills gaps that hinder people to work efficiently right now. And even more, managers try to develop this future-proof skill set in the team so that it stays up to date in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years. You should act right now because it takes time. And besides, long-term engagement. Of course, people can say, oh, everything is fine, it's okay, yeah, normal situation, I'm fine. But it doesn't mean that it won't change in a week, in a month, in half a year. So that's quite important to think about long-term engagement of the whole team. And as you can see here, if people want something, that's fine. We should support that, but at the same time, think about the consequence, about how it's going to be applied. If a person wants to learn a new skill, let's think about how to apply it. Otherwise, it will be just, I don't know, theoretical knowledge, not very useful, and a person won't be happy. Maybe they are not asking you about it explicitly, but you can guess that if a person has new skill, new knowledge, they want to practice it. Let's find the niche within your company, within their project, not outside in their pet project. Of course, there is nothing bad with it, but as a manager, you are not only the people's person. You also work at the company and try to help the company achieve its strategic goal. So what a manager can do? Ask people one-on-one, then analyze information behind the scenes, try to understand common topics, and then act and solve it systematically for everyone at once. Like this. Yeah, those famous British taps. And several closing thoughts. So we've just covered 5 lessons that I learned the hard way and try to share with you so that you don't make this mistake. There is nothing bad in failing. It's a bit questionable if you fail at the same thing twice. So, becoming a manager is like obtaining a new profession. It's a totally new world. And as designers, we cannot even imagine how complicated it is. It's not at the career stage. It's like opening an additional career path. Yeah. Second point, a good design manager is not the best designer on the team. Because that's why it's in the title, it's in the job title. Manager should manage. And working with people, of course, is much more complex than working with rectangles. I mean, the practical, hands-on work, working with interfaces, research and everything. Yeah, it's inevitable, it's important. And managers should, of course, have this background. It helps a lot. But at the same time, when you switch to working with people, that's another perspective, that's a different thing. So yeah, managing designers, at least in my opinion, is more difficult than managing designs. So, what to do next? After hearing all this stuff from me, what can we do practically? Piece of advice number 1, pass a basic HR or people management course, just to better understand what this profession includes, what it means to be a manager, what are the key stages of employee life cycle, it's like basics, fundamentals, important to know. Read good books, for example, this one. It was created by a designer. Get a mentor. That's extremely important. It can be internal mentor, someone from your company where you work. It can be an external advisor, like from ADP list or somewhere. But you should have someone more experienced to talk about particular cases, because theory and general rules is one thing, but particular situations and complicated cases is quite another. Person who gives you advice should have the context of what's happening. And pro tip, secret. If possible, try to grow to the managerial position within your current company, if possible, of course, and not jump into that role somewhere else. It will be just easier, will make your life easier. Yeah, that's almost it for today. Please subscribe to my Medium. I have at least 2 articles devoted to management. There will be more. Just a reminder that there will be a workshop today on creating custom design workshops, like workshop about workshops. No design sprint, no, I don't know, double diamond, nothing like that. Creating a custom workshop, something unique to our situation. And finally, there is one topic which is extremely important to me, and it's not connected with design, not connected with management at all. Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, my dear Georgians. Your support is extremely important. We do value it. Thanks.